Is Where Eagles Dare my favorite movie of all time? Sure, and Pigs Might Fly. But I do have an adolescent affection for it. I saw it more than once back in 1968. Back then, we didn't have home entertainment. So if you liked a movie, you went to see it again and again and again. There was no internet back then, no 24-hour news cycle, and the people in my neighborhood, they didn't take Variety or the Hollywood Reporter. I first saw Weagles there at the Astor Theater in Midtown Manhattan. Picked up another screening a few weeks later at the Lowe's 86th Street on the East Side. I picked up another screening when it hit the Bronx at the Lowe's Paradise Theater. Finally, 2 years later, I actually saw it at a Spanish theater in Harlem. Fortunately for me, it was subtitled and I didn't have to listen to a dubbed Richard Burton, because a Richard Burton with no voice is no Richard Burton at all. This is the second of the three Alistair MacLean film adaptations I'll be talking about. They are the triple crown of Mac movies. Unlike The Guns of Navarone, there is no moralizing in Where Eagles Dare. It's straight up kill as many bad guys as possible. Why? Because they're Nazis, and we hate those guys. And two, they're not real people. They're just there to be shot down. And Clint Eastwood shoots down a lot of Nazis. The story is simple. A commando team is parachuted into Germany to rescue an American general who's being held by the Gestapo in a mountaintop castle. Apparently, this general has the secret plans for D-Day. Or does he? Well, it turns out he's not really a general at all, and he has no plans. In fact, he's just an actor. You see, it's not really a war movie, it's a spy movie. All of this is revealed about two-thirds of the way through the movie in a major exposition dump that allows Richard Burton a chance to take his voice for a walk. It also affords Clint Eastwood the funniest line in the movie. After taking us through a torturous, circuitous route of double and triple crosses, Richard Burton finally turns to Clint Eastwood and says, "Lieutenant, we've got to create enough confusion to get out of here alive." And Clint Eastwood responds, "Major, you've got me about as confused as I ever hoped to be." And the audience explodes in recognition. They laugh at it because they were feeling kind of the same way as Clint was. After this, the movie is a nonstop cavalcade of action sequences. Richard Burton, being the star, has the film's centerpiece action sequence, which is the climactic fight atop the cable cars. But Clint Eastwood, fresh off the Dollars trilogy, is given plenty to do as well. Most notably, a hallway machine gun battle with a squad of Nazis where Clint mows them down with a machine gun in each hand. Now, that sort of thing may be common in today's action films, but back then we went, what? Wait, come on, what, are you kidding? But we went with it because the whole movie was so over the top, and hey, it was Clint. Polish beauty Ingrid Pitt is the spy with the great disguise, and this film would put her on the map. Veteran character actors Ferdy Mayne and Anton Diffring are the top Nazis, but it's Darren Nesbitt's Major von Harpen who we love to hate. Funny, I seem to remember the cathedral was on the other side of the square. Fräulein, you seem a bit distracted. Is anything wrong? Ah, and here I am talking about silly things like Dusseldorf. I'll tell you what, we'll have another schnapps, and I'll escort you back to your quarters, all right? Fräulein! Some later MacLean film adaptations definitely have merit, but none of them can match the studio resources that were given to these three films. Where Eagles Dare is a big production with great location and stunt work, but it's a mixed bag when it comes to the special effects. The practical effects, such as explosions, are done very well, but some of the opticals are problematic. During the climactic cable car fight, as the Burton character prepares to make his leap, the image of the ascending cable car looks like it was pasted on with glue. Granted, matte lines were always a problem back then, but this looks like it's in a cloud. On the more positive side, the set for the header station is great, and its integration with the on-location stunt work as our heroes climb into the castle is one of the visual highlights of the film. But I have a problem with one small part of this otherwise splendid sequence. As Burton climbs up the castle wall, he passes an open window, and we're expected to believe that none of the soldiers inside would have seen him climbing past. This bit plays like a homage to a regular feature in the old Batman TV series, which was just ending its run as this film went into production. Most Wed fans know that director Brian G. Hutton also went on to direct Kelly's Heroes, which is an oddball war movie. Pun deliberately intended. But I really wanted to give a shout out to his first film. It's called Wild Seed. It's a small independent film made by Marlon Brando's production company, and it stars the late, great Michael Parks. I briefly worked for producer Elliot Kastner when he hired me to design the stage lighting for a play he was backing. He was an interesting man, and I learned a lot in my time working for him. One day we were talking about Where Eagles Dare, which had just come out on Laserdisc, and you could tell he was very proud of the film. It may, in fact, have been his biggest money spinner, and the word around the campfire was that MGM was also very pleased and offered him the job of running the studio, but he turned it down, preferring instead to keep his independent status. See you around the campus.